Hello Magic fans, thanks for listening to Magic or Tragic. I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed, liked, or commented on any of the podcasts. You know, the reason I started to do these podcasts is because I live in Orlando, and if you're a hardcore Magic fan like I am, and you want to listen to anything about the Magic or get any news on the Magic without having to read a whole bunch of articles, it's few and far in between. The local talk radio shows here, they dedicate a little bit of time to it, I guess, but it's not always convenient to listen at those times. There is one person, Phil Rossman, I'm sorry, I forget his last name, with Orlando Magic Daily. He grinds hard for the Magic. He pretty much puts out a podcast daily or close to it. And everything, he's all over the Magic. So I do appreciate him. But one guy can't be enough, and I just wanted to be another outlet for anybody who just strictly wanted to hear about the Magic. Even if it's not a long podcast, I just try and bring you some of my insight and hopefully a little bit of news and whatnot. So again, thanks for listening. Please continue and subscribe and like below. Some recent news for the Magic. They signed Jonathon Simmons, and I really like that signing. It's why I'm doing this podcast right now, because I know that he's not a superstar, so to speak, or anything like that, but he's a player that could just be entering. He looks like he's just figuring himself out, and he was with San Antonio, and he backed up Kawhi Leonard. When he got injured, he took over for him in the playoffs, and he did pretty well. He's still kind of a young guy as far as NBA experience, but he's come a long way. He's got a pretty good story. You can read about it online. And he's a terrific two-way player prospect. He handles the ball pretty well. He's got a good size, 6'6". His shooting can be up and down, but he's shown flashes of being a pretty decent shooter. His offensive style of game is generally he's an attacker. He slashes or cuts. He's going to be very good in transition, but defense is something he can excel at. He's definitely a player that I think can challenge for a starting spot in Orlando. And Terrence Ross and Fournier, they're not going to be able to relax with this guy on the roster. He's very talented. He's very athletic. Again, his style of attacking, his defensive tenacity, he's got a pretty good motor. If his shooting progresses, then he's definitely got starter in him. I really like this player. He basically resembles a lot of the players the new staff has brought in. Position flex, he can play the 2 or the 3 on offense and defense. And he comes from a background of winning that I think this team could use. And he just seems like a guy who could be ready to break out. And I'm glad we took a chance on a player like him. Most people, when they look at him, might think he's just a guy. And maybe he will be, you know. But even if he doesn't turn out to be some great player for the Magic, if he progresses a little bit on top of what he already is, then that's definitely going to improve this team now and in the future. The last 2 acquisitions with Shelvin Mack and Jonathon Simmons have added some real depth to this team, which is why we lost a lot of games last year and previous years. Our depth, our bench has been horrible. They added to that greatly, and there are also 2 players who I think have room to grow even more. Like, I just, when I watched them play, I know they didn't get too many minutes. They're not players that are well known, but they're kind of young, and it just seems like both of them have the potential to be late bloomers, so to speak. And in the NBA, there are plenty of examples of late bloomers. Some players bloom late and went on to become all-stars. Some players bloom late and just went on to become really good players or contributors for their team. And I think Shelvin Mack and Jonathon Simmons has the ability to do that. And with all that said, I have to kind of go back on something I said in my last podcast when I had expectations for the upcoming season. All I wanted to see was Gordon and Hazonia and Isaac, and I didn't really care about the record. I still don't care about the record. I still wish we could get a real high lottery pick, because I think this team needs to just go ahead and build for the future. However, with the way we're reorganizing this roster, it's looking more likely that we'll finish better than, a top 3 lottery pick. And that's good for the Magic. We don't have to see so much losing. It's possible in the horrible East they could push for even a playoff spot. And that would be very fun to watch as well. If the Magic push for the playoffs, I just think it's will be a status of what the Eastern Conference is right now. But it'll be fun to watch because we've lost so much. And, go Magic. But in the long run, we need to get better players on this team, and that won't happen without pretty high draft picks. Still, this management, when they were in Milwaukee, they had a pretty quick turnaround. They hired Jason Kidd. They drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo. I always love to try and say his name, the Greek Freak. And they made some other nice moves, and they made a very quick turnaround in Milwaukee. What I'm seeing in Orlando is a little bit of the same thing. They're targeting players that they like. They're versatile players, and they just can help you in so many different ways on a basketball floor, not in just one way. These two guys look like some real natural basketball players to me. They don't seem like box players, a term I used in the last podcast. So definitely I feel good about the moves we're making currently. As far as Magic, it still stings to have to turn on SportsCenter and read ESPN and see Dennis Smith Jr. all over the place. And it's going to sting for a while. However, I think we're in good hands, Magic fans. So let's just keep the faith and see how it goes. I really appreciate everyone listening again. Make sure you continue. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. And go Magic.